The Grand Council chamber of the Veltari Empire stretched 300 meters in every direction, its crystalline walls refracting the light of distant suns. Representatives from 47 conquered species stood in their designated zones, their bioluminescent markers pulsing with submissive acknowledgement of Veltari supremacy. At the chamber's heart, on a platform of floating obsidian, sat the Council of Claws, 7 beings whose families had ruled the Empire for 3,000 cycles. Arya Veldon stood in the supplicant circle, her plain gray jumpsuit a stark contrast to the shimmering scales, feathers, and chitin surrounding her. She was 23 standard years old, barely out of the Solar Academy, and she represented humanity's first petition for recognition before the Empire. The other species had warned her. They had sent encrypted messages through backchannels, advising Earth to send someone more impressive, someone with cybernetic enhancements or genetic modifications. Instead, Earth had sent her, a xenobiologist with calloused hands and dirt under her fingernails. The mockery began immediately. "This is what survives on that water-drenched rock?" hissed Council Member Velshar, his serpentine body coiling with disdain. No armored hide, no venom sacs, no adaptive camouflage. How did such weakness even evolve past the microbial stage? Laughter rippled through the chamber, clicks, chirps, and subsonic rumbles of amusement. Arya kept her gaze steady, her hands clasped loosely behind her back. She had expected this. Humanity always looked weak on paper. No natural weapons, no specialized predatory adaptations, no remarkable physical attributes, just endurance, curiosity, and an irritating refusal to accept limitations. "The human petition is rejected," announced Council Leader Morthak, his 4 eyes barely glancing at the holographic display before him. "Your species may continue trading in the outer markets, but you will not receive protectorate status. This council does not waste resources on species unlikely to survive the next millennium." "I understand," Arya said quietly, "but I was hoping to demonstrate something before I leave." "Demonstrate?" Velshar's laugh was like glass scraping stone. "What could you possibly show us that would matter?" Arya reached into her pocket slowly, aware that 50 weapons had just trained on her position. She withdrew a small sealed container and held it up. "On my world we have a saying, actions speak louder than words. I'd like to introduce you to someone." Before the council could respond, she opened the container and pressed a small device. A transport beam shimmered in the supplicant's circle, and chaos erupted. Korath materialized in a crouch, his massive form immediately recognizable to every being in the chamber. He was a Veltari apex predator, 12 feet of corded muscle, obsidian claws, and teeth designed to tear through starship hull plating. His species had never been tamed, never been controlled. They existed in the deep jungles of Veltar Prime, killing anything that entered their territory. The Empire had tried for centuries to weaponize them, to break them, to bend them to imperial will. Every attempt had ended in blood and failure. The council members rose from their seats, backing away. Security forces surged forward, but Morthak raised a hand, stopping them. The entire chamber held its collective breath as Korath's violet eyes scanned the room, his nostrils flaring as he processed the sense of fear and authority. Then his gaze found Arya. She didn't move, didn't flinch. She simply looked at him the way she had looked at him for the past 6 months, with respect, understanding, and something the Veltari had never shown his kind: genuine care. Korath moved forward, each step measured and deliberate. His claws clicked against the crystalline floor. The sound echoed like a countdown. Warriors tensed. Diplomats prepared final prayers. The council members watched in horrified fascination. The predator stopped before the human girl. His head lowered slowly, deliberately, until his massive skull touched the floor at her feet. A posture of absolute submission, of recognition, of loyalty freely given. The chamber erupted in disbelief. "Impossible," breathed Velshar. "The apex predators bow to no one. We have tried everything. Pain, reward, genetic conditioning. They cannot be broken." Arya placed her hand gently on Korath's head, scratching behind his tufted ears the way he liked. "You're right," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence. "They can't be broken, but they can be befriended." She looked up at the council, and for the first time since entering the chamber, she smiled. 6 months ago, I was assigned to study the apex predators in their natural habitat. Your researchers observed from armored vehicles using drones and long-range sensors. I walked into the jungle with a backpack and a first aid kit. Do you know what I learned? Morthak's voice was barely a whisper. What? They're not mindless killers. They're highly intelligent, deeply social, and fiercely protective of their pack. They attack you because you treat them like weapons to be conquered. I treated Korath like a person. I learned his language. Yes, they have language. I shared my food. I tended his wounds when he fought off a rival. I never tried to control him. Korath rumbled softly, a sound of contentment that vibrated through the floor. Humans understand something your empire has forgotten, Arya continued. Strength isn't just about claws and armor. It's about adaptation, cooperation, and empathy. You look at us and see weakness because we're not built for individual combat. But we're built for something far more powerful. We're built to make allies out of anyone, to find common ground with species you consider unconquerable. She gestured to the chamber. How many of these species joined your empire willingly? How many are here because they want to be, not because they fear you? The silence was absolute. Arya scratched Korath one more time, then stepped back. I'll withdraw humanity's petition. We don't need your protectorate status. But in 50 years, maybe 100, when you're wondering why human colonies are thriving and your empire is stagnating, remember this moment. Remember that the species you mocked built bridges while you built cages. She touched the transport device on her wrist. Come on, Korath, let's go home. The predator rose to his full height, nuzzled her shoulder gently with his massive head, and stood beside her as the transport beam enveloped them both. The last thing the council saw was Arya Velden, the human girl they had dismissed, standing fearlessly next to the most dangerous predator in their empire, not as master and servant, but as equals, as friends. As the beam faded, Morthak slowly returned to his seat. For the first time in his 300 years of service, he felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. Perhaps the humans were more dangerous than anyone realized. Not because of their weapons or their technology, but because they could turn the unconquerable into family, and an empire built on fear could never compete with that.